Breaking! Thailand-Cambodia ceasefire agreed after 5 days of deadly border conflict. In a significant turn of events, the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia have reached an agreement to implement a ceasefire, effective at midnight on Monday. This decision comes after 5 days of intense conflict, marking the most severe clash between these Southeast Asian neighbours in over a decade. On July 28, 2025, at 6:39 a.m. EDT, Reuters reported from Putrajaya, Malaysia, that the ceasefire aims to put an end to the deadly hostilities that have erupted along their shared border. The fighting escalated dramatically, with both nations accusing each other of initiating the violence, which involved heavy artillery and airstrikes along their 508-mile land border. The ceasefire talks were facilitated by Malaysia's Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, who currently chairs the ASEAN regional bloc. During a press conference, Anwar announced, "There will be an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, effective from midnight tonight. This is final." His statement reflects a strong commitment to restoring peace in the region. The conflict had drawn international attention, with both China and the United States offering to mediate the negotiations. President Donald Trump even reached out to both leaders over the weekend, urging them to resolve their differences and warning that ongoing hostilities would jeopardize potential trade agreements. Tensions had been mounting since the death of a Cambodian soldier during a skirmish in late May, leading to a significant military build-up on both sides and pushing Thailand's fragile coalition government to the edge of collapse. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet expressed optimism following the meeting, stating, "Today we have a very good meeting and very good results that hope to stop immediately the fighting that has caused many lives lost, injuries." Meanwhile, Thai Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai, who had previously voiced skepticism about Cambodia's intentions, affirmed Thailand's commitment to the ceasefire, emphasizing that it should be executed in good faith by both parties. As the situation unfolds, one must wonder, will this ceasefire hold, or is it merely a temporary pause in a long-standing conflict? What are your thoughts on the effectiveness of international mediation in such disputes? Share your opinions in the comments below. Thailand-Cambodia border tensions ease. Ceasefire talks and residents returning home. Tensions eases at Thailand-Cambodia border. Military leaders engage in talks. The situation along the border shared by Thailand and Cambodia has stabilized significantly, prompting military officials from both nations to initiate discussions aimed at restoring order. As news of a truce circulates, residents displaced by the recent violence are cautiously making their way back to their homes. In recent events, Thailand's military reported that on Tuesday, Cambodian troops allegedly executed attacks at multiple points, claiming a breach of the ceasefire agreement that had been established just after midnight. However, Cambodian authorities have strongly countered these allegations, asserting that their military has been following the terms of the ceasefire since its implementation, according to Defence Minister T. Seha. This surge of violence marks the fiercest conflict between the two countries in over 10 years, resulting in the tragic loss of at least 40 lives, primarily civilians, and the displacement of over 300,000 individuals. These developments occurred after Thai and Cambodian leaders convened in Malaysia on Monday, where they negotiated and publicly announced a ceasefire agreement following 5 days of harrowing battles. The discussions between the military commanders are significant as they reflect a commitment to peace. The leaders from both nations, including Thailand's Major General Winthai Suvari, confirmed their intention to uphold the ceasefire, halt the movement of armed forces, and facilitate the return of those injured and the deceased to their respective communities. To address any problems that might arise, each side will form a team comprised of 4 members for effective coordination, Winthai explained. Additionally, both military factions have committed to refraining from further troop deployments along the border, a point emphasized by Lim Meng Hu, Cambodia's Director General for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. He highlighted the necessity of involving international observers to ensure compliance with the agreed-upon ceasefire terms, which he stressed is critical for restoring peace in the region. In the capital city of Bangkok, Thailand's acting Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai stated that complaints have been filed with Malaysia, the United States and China concerning Cambodia's alleged violations of the ceasefire. Nevertheless, tranquility has returned to various border regions. Life in the Thai district of Camp Darralak began to normalize again, with the flow of traffic and daily activities resuming, albeit not far from where troops remain stationed at the front lines. Stories from locals reflect the hope returning to the border areas. Chaya Pumjaron, a 51-year-old business owner, expressed relief at the ceasefire, stating, "I'm really glad that peace has been established. Continued fighting leaves us with no chance to earn a living." Meanwhile, in Cambodia's Odar Mienche province, 63-year-old Lee Kim Eng, sitting under a makeshift shelter, noted, "I will return home immediately if authorities announce it is safe for us refugees." Enduring conflicts and economic pressures, this ongoing dispute has been a long-standing issue, with decades of back and forth over the border territories. The recent escalation traces its origins back to a deadly encounter involving a Cambodian soldier in a skirmish last May, triggering troop reinforcements on both sides and deepening diplomatic tensions. The recent talks in Malaysia were partly influenced by significant pressure from Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and US President Donald Trump, who cautioned that trade negotiations between the nations would stall if conflict persisted. Both Thailand and Cambodia face onerous tariffs on their imports to the United States, estimated at 36%, unless more favorable trade terms can be negotiated. Following the agreement, Trump acknowledged that he had communicated with both leaders, assigning his trade team to resume negotiations on existing tariffs. Thailand's finance minister, Pichai Chunhavajira, indicated that a resolution to trade discussions with Washington is anticipated to be achieved before August 1st, with expectations that US tariffs may be lower than the 36% currently imposed. Political expert Ditinan Pongsudirak from Bangkok's Chulalongkorn University commented on the delicate nature of the ceasefire agreement, stating it marks an unusual alignment of interests between the US and China, both of whom have advocated for peaceful dialogue. Nevertheless, without external verification, the continued adherence to the ceasefire remains precarious, noting, "The enforcement of the ceasefire cannot solely rely on Thailand and Cambodia, given the depth of the underlying hostilities." In conclusion, the fragile peace achieved amid historical tensions raises critical questions for both nations moving forward. How sustainable is this truce in light of past conflicts? What role will external powers play in ensuring stability? We invite you to share your opinions on this topic. Do you think the ceasefire can hold? Or are we likely to see continued unrest? Thailand-Cambodia ceasefire. Military talks amid border tensions. Imagine the relief that washed over the residents living near the Thailand-Cambodia border when a ceasefire was announced on Tuesday. After days of deadly clashes that left at least 38 people dead, mostly civilians, and forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes, the military leaders of both countries finally met for negotiations. But here's where it gets controversial. The Thai army accused Cambodian troops of violating the truce overnight, even as the ceasefire was supposed to be holding. The leaders of these two Southeast Asian neighbours had met in Malaysia on Monday and agreed to stop the deadly clashes that had been raging since Thursday. The commanders of 3 Thai military units along the border region met their Cambodian counterparts on Tuesday and agreed to maintain the ceasefire and halt troop movement, according to Royal Thai Army spokesperson. Major General Winthai Suvari. Thailand's Second Army Region, which has been at the centre of the fiercest fighting, and Cambodia's Military Region 4 also agreed to a ban on firing against civilians, and to refrain from reinforcing troops along the border. Winthai stated that a complete ceasefire was in place along the entire borderline. The talks went ahead after Thailand accused Cambodia of violating the ceasefire, after it went into effect at midnight local time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday. Thailand's Winthai said earlier Tuesday that multiple instances of Cambodian attacks have been reported after the midnight ceasefire, calling it an intentional act to undermine mutual trust. Acting Thai Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai described the overnight clashes as small and said the border area was calm on Tuesday morning. Cambodia's Ministry of National Defence spokesperson, Lieutenant General Mali Suchata, denied there was fighting after the ceasefire came into effect, but said Cambodian troops remained in position along the border. Both sides had accused the other of starting the latest border flare-up and traded blame for the clashes. The dispute over their order goes back decades. 2 hours after the ceasefire came into effect, the Royal Thai Navy reported that fighting stopped in Thailand's Trat province near the disputed border. On the Cambodian side, the head of an evacuation shelter told CNN they stopped hearing explosions. News of the agreement was welcomed by residents living near the border. "I feel a big relief. No more heavy chest. It's been quiet and peaceful now," Dr. Mao Nara said 30 minutes after the ceasefire went into effect. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and acting Thai Prime Minister Phumtham on Monday agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, in a move announced by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who mediated the talks as the current chair of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. The talks were hosted at the Malaysian Prime Minister's official residence near the capital Kuala Lumpur. The United States and China also participated in the negotiations. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio applauded the ceasefire on Monday and said the Trump administration expects the two governments to fully honor their commitments to end this conflict. U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Saturday that the Southeast Asian nations had agreed to ceasefire talks. But localized fighting continued throughout the weekend. Trump said he had warned the Thai and Cambodian leaders that he would not make trade deals with either country if the deadly border conflict continued. This is an important step towards reducing tensions and restoring peace and security, Hun Manet said in a statement confirming the ceasefire, in which he thanked the Malaysian Prime Minister, the Chinese government, and Trump specifically for their support in the negotiation process. He also announced that the two countries will establish a Cambodian-Thai General Boundary Committee, which will hold an initial meeting on August the 4th, hosted by Cambodia. Today's outcome reflects Thailand's desire for a peaceful resolution, while continuing to protect our sovereignty and the lives of our people, Phumtham said in the news conference. We agreed to a ceasefire that will be carried out in good faith by both sides. Malaysia is prepared to deploy a team to ensure implementation and observation of the ceasefire, Anwar said, adding that both Thailand and Cambodia will resume direct communication at the level of prime ministers, foreign ministers, and defense ministers. In recent decades, Thailand and Cambodia have had a complicated relationship of both cooperation and rivalry. The two countries share a 500-mile, 800-kilometer land border, largely mapped by the French when they controlled Cambodia as a colony, that has periodically seen military clashes. Recent tension had been simmering since an encounter in May, in which a Cambodian soldier was killed. Relations soured further following the release of a leaked phone call between Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra and Cambodia's Hun Sen, the father of the current Prime Minister. In the call, Paetongtarn could be heard calling Hun Sen uncle, and appeared to criticize her own army's actions in the border dispute, which led to her suspension after opponents accused her of compromising the country's interests. The most recent flare-up came after 5 Thai soldiers were injured in a landmine explosion last week, with the incident prompting Thailand to downgrade diplomatic relations with its neighbour. That was followed by days of deadly clashes and heavy weapons fire across their disputed border, displacing more than 139,000 people from 7 provinces in Thailand and at least 80,000 people in Cambodia. Thailand on Monday said 25 people have been killed since hostilities began, 14 of whom are civilians. Cambodian authorities previously said that in Odar Mianche province, which borders Thailand's Sirin, 13 people had been killed, including 8 civilians, and 50 wounded. And this is the part most people miss. The ceasefire is a significant step, but it's just the beginning. The underlying issues that led to these clashes are deeply rooted and will require sustained effort and diplomacy to resolve. What do you think? Will this ceasefire hold, or are we likely to see more flare-ups in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments below.